I'm Jack Death. I'm a trooper in the 23rd century.
Jack Death, Angel City PD. May I see your stats?
What did I do?
Under Section 7 of the Penal Code, the Council authorized me to administer you a transfer suspect examination.
You can't give me a TSE without a warrant.
I got your warrant right here, pal.
Okay. I don't want any trouble.
Hold that to
My job is hunting Trancers.
I got nothing to hide.
Finding them.
Negative.
And singeing them.
Look out!
Of course, sometimes they find me first. Then it's a little more complicated.
It's a terrible business in a sense. I mean, I love it, but it's a business that, you know, it's an art form, it's a cutthroat business. You got to have an even mix of talent and cunning and God knows what else to, you know, to survive. Sometimes when you go a little further and you take a chance, even within your small, you know, range, you know, you can be very successful because it's something different that people are looking for anyway.
He's dead? Not anymore.
There are some pictures that I've made that were not initially successful, let's say theatrically, but have lived on in home video and have become, you know, again, to call a picture a cult classic or a cult film is probably overreaching, but you know, when a picture that's 7 or 8 years old still is rented and they reorder it, it has some life of its own. I just enjoy the genre, you know. I would, you know, sitting down, having a choice, which we now have with if you have a home video, some kind of a library, or the choice of going and renting a tape. You know, we've never had such choice before. In the past, up to not too many years ago, you know, you'd open your paper and there were 15, 18, 20 pictures being played, and that was it. You know, you couldn't go and look at 5,000 films on a video shelf and say, I'm in the mood for comedy, and then you look at 400 comedy selection. And so with all this choice, you know, more times than not, I wind up in front of horror, science fiction, fantasy, sometimes comedy. This business you reinvent every 90 days, and that's why it's tough to do a 2 to 3 year business plan, because in 6 months the business has changed again. But today, you've got a possibility with a picture that costs between, say, $1 and $2 million to make a modest profit between worldwide home video and television, without the picture having really to go out theatrically. You know, if you ship 25,000, 30,000 units in the U.S. market, you're doing well on what anyone would consider a smaller picture. So between that and, again, your foreign sales, which are really guarantees by other similar distributors, again, there's a business. It's not a get-rich business, at least picture by picture, but if you stay in there, you know, hopefully it all works out. We know that there is you know, a finite number of people who enjoy a horror film or a fantasy film, and so that helps. And I think more than anything else, again, back to the analogy of making a bad horror film, which no one sets out to make, but even if it's not so good, it's still marketable. And also a horror film, even cheap horror films that take place in one location, a haunted house or whatever, are fairly affordable to make as opposed to a big action film, or obviously any film that would require, you know, major stars. I love pictures, I love making films, and I really felt that as opposed to being a filmmaker that would eternally have scripts under his hands knocking on doors in Hollywood, which is a tough thing to do, that I would make some low-budget films, make some money, have some sort of resources of my own, and then not have to, you know, beg for the dollars to go out and make pictures. I made a picture called Trancers, which deals with the exploits of Jack Death, this kind of futuristic cop who comes back to the present day to solve a problem that really exists in the future. And that picture worldwide has resurfaced and, you know, keeps coming back. There are a lot of pictures like that that I keep playing. They play television, they're on video, and again, they're all pictures that are, you know, by industry standards, tiny budgets. But I think there's, you know, you can do enough with that budget range that I've been talking about to put enough quality on the screen if you have some talent that, you know, allows these pictures to live on. It'd be nice just to talk about making horror films, you know, as a creative art form, but it's so immersed in, you know, pre-selling the horror concept in order to get the funding, in order to make the movie, that they kind of go hand in hand. We really develop everything in-house. With few exceptions, I've developed the concept, title, and artwork for the pictures that I've been involved with. So therefore, what we really look for are writers who can write scripts for projects that we've already conceived. as opposed to what is traditionally done in this business, where you have hundreds of submissions every week and you have readers who read a good script, and it's much more difficult to find a good script that is attached to a good concept. You know, many times we'll find a screenplay, or sometimes we'll find a screenplay that's very well written, but it makes no sense to make that movie. But then at least we have a writer we know can write that kind of a project, and then we will look at what we've got in development, and then we'll match the concept to the writer.
What are you going to do to me?
I'm going to kiss you.
My projects have generally not been very violent. I've not made slasher films. It's never been my thing. Under the fantasy umbrella, you can get away with a lot of mayhem without having to, you know, show people being cut up. I mean, if a crazy creature from another dimension comes and squishes you, I mean, you know, it's all under the guise of fantasy and some kind of fun. But if it's a very real guy, you know, who's got a knife and cuts you up, and he comes from, you know, a gang, I mean, that to me is, there's nothing fun about that, and I'll let other people make those films. We've made many of our pictures in Italy. The reason why is, up to recently, I owned a studio there when I had a company called Empire. It made a lot of sense to make pictures there 3-4 years ago because the dollar was very strong. Italy is a great place to make pictures. It's outside the United States, I think, one of the best places to shoot. The film industry there is very mature. Great place to work, great people, great food, great everything. And it made economical sense. Of course, things have changed, not that the country is any less great to shoot in, but the dollar is much weaker. It's no longer what it was 3-4 years ago, and therefore, with certain exceptions, most of our product will be shot here. Those exceptions being films that either require locations that exist over there already, or maybe it's a picture that may involve some Italian co-financing because it's a subject matter that appeals to either Italy or Europe. We have a branch there. We have a full office in Rome, and whether it's been through Empire or now separately with the new company, this is, I think, our 6th year, you know, keeping a small staff in Rome. So we're on the lookout there for co-production deals. We handle our product there. As Europe becomes one in 1992, it will be really our base, you know, of operations in Europe. It's always more convenient to shoot a picture in your own backyard. The problem with Los Angeles is, you know, you have the greatest craftspeople in the world, the greatest filmmakers, the greatest everything, but it's also the highest cost. You know, you'd think that almost in the home of movies you would find the better bargains, but everyone here is very jaded. It's very tough to get a location because people's streets have been shot out 300 times, and they want just to see you move, you know, and turn around and leave. And, you know, it's expensive to shoot here. And it's less expensive elsewhere, but elsewhere involves, you know, a move, a location, and being, you know, not so close to a project that you're spending a lot of money on over, you know, a period of a few short weeks. You really got to start doing it at the bottom. I mean, I was involved in the beginning in, you know, hand numbering negative and you name it. I mean, I've done every bad job and fun job, you know, and you know, once you get a feel for it, if you really are going to be involved in producing film, you know, there's no way to do that other than doing it, you know, even if it's for free, you know, and I'd advise anyone to get on a set and work for nothing and just gain the experience and the connections, because, you know, one thing does lead to another if you're in action.